All right, Jules, you mocked me about João Cancelo.
Yeah.
He's a guy who gives you quality. He's a guy who can actually play in the middle of the park or come inside
Yeah.
and actually create things, which you kind of need when you've got people who rely on through
Yeah,
balls.
no, I've got no, but he's a defender who can't defend, so especially not in that team. So like, they're not going to sign
That's
him.
why you play a back three.
They're not going to sign him.
Right.
It's a good cross for Mane's goal. The creativity was interesting, but he's had more bad games since joining Bayern than good games, really, than good performances in a team that, as we've been saying, has been struggling anyway. But it was funny how because you love him so much and you said it was crazy for City to let him go. I love the fact, which I knew before, how you pointed him out, kind of like, when it's really the last worry that Bayern should have.
All right, Jan, Cancelo's not the story here. I need to get you in on this because one of the narratives about Bayern this year is Robert Lewandowski leaves, he doesn't get replaced, Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting scores a ton of goals. Great. And then when they lose, it's always the same thing. Oh, look, there's no Choupo-Moting, and they even gave him a new contract for next season.
Yeah.
And he's getting hammered for playing, I don't know if you want to describe it as a Mane-Muller partnership up front or how you would describe that. It certainly looked like that was kind of like a front two.
Yeah.
But people are saying, oh, why isn't Matisse Tell playing? And this just does my head in. Matisse Tell is 17 years old. Okay, he's 17.
He might have turned just 18.
Maybe he just turned 18 last week. I don't know. He's made a ton of appearances this season. He's been a part of the first team. I mean, Nagelsmann got killed for not playing him more. Now Tuchel saying, people are saying, oh, dude, you should have started Tell in this game. You were a center forward in the Bundesliga. I'm sure when you were 17 or 18, you were scoring a lot of goals. I can't think of many center forwards, other maybe Marcus Rashford, who had an impact, a sizable impact on a good team competing for a title at 17, 18. We're setting the bar impossibly high, aren't we?
Absolutely. When I was 17, 18 years of age, I played in the Norwegian Championship, and I was picked up by my mother after training to take me home to my village. So just to put my into perspective, but if Tell is the answer, there's something wrong with the question, and it's nothing to do with the development of Tell. I think that he gets the game that he should. He had the potential to be a Bundesliga striker, but I think that is excuses by Bayern. There's excuses to spin around what happened. Remember, they did everything they could to get Erling Haaland. Fair enough. They wanted to have the best potential striker in Bundesliga. They ending up losing Robert Lewandowski. And we have to remind people that Robert Lewandowski didn't have a clause in his contract. He was sold by Bayern Munich. So they get Sadio Mane in, and Nagelsmann says so in August or September. Maybe he has to say that, but he said, we can play without the striker. We can play without the number 9. We will be more flexible. This is going to be okay. Then they played against City. City had Alvarez, a world champion, on the bench. They had Erling Haaland on the pitch. Bayern Munich didn't have a striker. They haven't even given out the number 9 shirt, which is quite symbolic what they're doing at Bayern at the moment. And I think where they miss Lewandowski, or a great striker, the most, which is a bit undercommunicated, is to make these 1-0 goals. Who do you have that can score the 1-0 goal? Okay, or who can kill a game? Who can kill off a game in Mainz? I'm with you. Mainz were okay. The Mainz game was okay by Bayern the first 60 minutes, but then Tuchel said it was a great game for 60, 70 minutes. I guess if you ask Mainz, they will say it was a great game after the 60th and 70th minute. So yes, they miss a striker, and yes, the responsibility got to be pointed the finger to the guys who are going to be responsible for that. That is Salihamidzic. That is Oliver Kahn.
Jules, I know we're kind of fueling this, and I want to get Jan in on this as well, and we've touched upon it a little bit, but there's a part of me that says, hang on a second, there's also a factor of club narrative here, because yes, he changed it around, and yes, it's his third defeat and whatever else, but they weren't terrible for an hour, right? They, in different circumstances, they win that game. It's not like they're 10 points behind all of a sudden and Dortmund got a special win bonus. They're still very much in the title race. And yet, again, the reactions from the leadership, from the media, are very much the sky is falling. What have we done? And I know we're talking about this as well, and we're kind of rubbing it and gloating it over Nagelsmann, but this isn't healthy, is it?
No, and it's maybe kind of overreacting a little bit. But then this Bayern, like Jan was saying, this is the FC Hollywood, this is Bayern. I think, just quickly, Mainz are a really good team. I think it's 10 games unbeaten now, and they're doing really well. I think they're really difficult to play against, all of that. But with Bayern, this is what happened, and especially I think when you've got a lot of former Bayern players in the media as pundit, Effenberg, Matthäus, of course, very outspoken people. When Kahn and Salihamidzic, when Kahn especially, I think Salihamidzic gets a pass. I think for me, he should have got sacked a long time ago, and somehow, I don't know why Jan thinks, he always managed to stay in the job. He kind of avoids the criticism a little bit, but Kahn is such a polarizing figure that since he's been in the job, I think everything takes even more proportions, really. Plus, when Heiner talks when he doesn't need to.
Yeah, why is Heiner talking?
I don't know, but it's still only two. It's just 2 wins in 7 gaps. It would be the same at United. It would be crisis. It would be the same at Juventus.
I guarantee you, Richard Arnold would not come out and talk if it was 2 wins in 7.
But Jan is right. This is the German culture for you. Everybody talks all the time. Like, this is what they do.
Can you then explain this? Give us a little bit more context on this, Jan. And also say, okay, if it's like this, if it is FC Hollywood, if there is constant chaos and stuff, how is it that they've managed to win 10 league straight titles and the Champions League and come close in those years? Is there an argument to be made that some sort of creative tension, some sort of continual chaos is actually a positive? It's actually something that drives Bayern further because of Mia San Mia and all this nonsense. Or not nonsense, it's real to them. Is that the argument? Or is it the case that they should have won 20 league titles in the last 10 years?
No. But I think it's a very valid point, Gab. And I think that has been the strategy. But remember, we have to understand the club of Bayern. They've had the same boss since he was 27. Uli Hoeneß has been the coach or the head of the club since 77, 78. So he has got an attitude into this club that is, we have to win. If we don't win, it's a crisis. Back in the days when Otto Rehhagel, the famous Otto Rehhagel, was like fired some days before the UEFA Cup final. I mean, this is what the club have done. That is what take them further. The problem is now that after Uli Hoeneß, they pointed at Oliver Kahn. And Oliver Kahn tried to do it his way. He tried to do it some way that is going to be Bayern against rest of the world. But I think that a lot of us depending on an Uli Hoeneß, because Uli Hoeneß has that power. And mind you, we were talking about why isn't Salihamidzic sacked? Of course it is because he's Uli Hoeneß' man. So if this was, I always love to make my metaphor about Godfather, but there would have been a problem for Al Pacino to be a good Godfather if Marlon Brando was still alive. That is a fact. And it's that, and it is the thing that when Uli Hoeneß now, we know now that there is a big evaluation of Oliver Kahn at the moment, that maybe he has to go. And people ask themselves, yeah, but it was Salihamidzic bringing in those players. Yes, but it's because that you can't put a CEO. He's a CEO. He's not a former goalkeeper who is in a sporting role. He's the CEO of one of the biggest global brands of Germany, not German football. And then Oliver Kahn shows us every time, for me, when he speaks in the media, that he's not up for it. And that is a fact.
So, Jan, Kahn is going to go at the end of the season, right? And then what? Uli Hoeneß comes back?
Yeah, well, again, that is, there was even reports that he would put in his son, who is the CEO of his sausage factory. But I think that the history will show us that there have been a lot of great personalities who's been doing wrong decisions. It was Sir Alex Ferguson that pointed at Moyes at the time. He was not very successful. Moyes is a good manager, but he was not up for the Man United job. It was also Uli Hoeneß who said that we need to have a former Bayern player as coach, as CEO. But I think that was a big mistake. You can get away with it for a head of sport, a manager. But I think when you look for a CEO, I think, Jules, they will probably look at maybe Heiner could be an interim. They could take Heiner back there. And yes, I'm with you. He should never be allowed to be in front of a microphone. He said on a Monday in the week that Julian Nagelsmann was fired, he said that he will stay for ages. And this is an era and at the club. They could bring Rummenigge back to complete all the Muppet Show. They could take all the guys back on the stage. This is what they do. So these people miss themselves. And I have to say, I'm a big fan of Uli Hoeneß. I say this with love, but it's hard to kind of leave your company that you kind of built up since you were 27 years of age.
Yeah, for those who don't know, because we mentioned Uli Hoeneß, for those who might not be familiar with him, he was a former great player who, as Jan said, is super smart. I had the privilege of having lunch with him, me and other people, a few years ago, right by his house overlooking a lake. It was a lovely, very idyllic place. But he's also a very, very tough guy. Guy had the vision to bring Pep Guardiola to Bayern. Not an easy sell for many reasons, and obviously worked out great. But he's somebody who is, I don't want to say he's bigger than the club, but he it's weird for a club that has actual members and shareholders and stuff. And I'm sure he's a member, but he's not a shareholder. And yet it's almost like it's his club still. And he's always the guy behind the scenes, even when I don't even know if he has a formal role now within the club.
But every time they score a goal, or when they don't score a goal, the cameras at the games in Munich just goes and show him they show him all the time, like if he was still the boss.
It's like as if Sir Alex Ferguson had never stepped away. And I think that's something to think about. For the CEO role, and I think this might help them on the pitch and off it, why not Thomas Muller? He's already kind of effectively a co-CEO right now, but no, I'm joking there. And title race. It's not over. It's not over at all, because it's not over because they have Borussia Dortmund on the other side, and it's not over, right?
No, it's not over at all, because you felt in the last round, and now they knocked my Frankfurt 4-0, of course, which was good because they then answered the result. That was in the evening. They knew about the Mainz game, but it was only the last round where there was 1-1 in Hoffenheim, and Dortmund had one of the most embarrassing games ever. So the next game is now on Friday. Dortmund is playing Bochum, who are struggling big time, which means that Dortmund will probably lose there. And then we will say that is typical Dortmund, and so on, and Bayern playing Hertha Berlin. Having said that, I think now that they're playing Bochum away, then they got 2 home games, Dortmund. This is a key moment of their season. They got an advantage at home. They got a fantastic stadium. We all love to go there. It is an unbelievable support for them. So I think that for Dortmund, now what's going on at Bayern, it's good for them. But you mentioned it, Gab. They know about crisis at Bayern. They know when the lion get a bit hurt, it's the most dangerous. Can Bayern ending up winning all rest of the games? Yes, they would. They can. And can Dortmund then slip up? So yes, they can. So it's very, very open. But I think that is very surprising for us, because we felt that Bayern now with Tuchel will find a solid way just to kind of sail the ship safe to the harbor.
Right. Dortmund have Wolfsburg at home and then Gladbach at home in the 2 games that after Bochum that Jan was talking about. On paper, it just looks...
It looks set up for Dortmund.
But it looks like their schedule is slightly a little bit more difficult maybe than Bayern. Although Bayern have to play Schalke as well, and Hertha, who are fighting not to go down. Leipzig as well, who are fighting to finish top 4. So it's not going to be easy, I think, for either of them with the remaining fixtures that they have.
I am contractually obligated to do this. It's percentage times, gentlemen.
I knew that was coming.
Jan, give me your percentages, Bayern or Borussia Dortmund?
I will say still, but that is just based on 10 years, desperate to have a battle in Bundesliga. I will say it's 51-49 Bayern Dortmund.
Oh, Jules?
I go 51-49 Dortmund. I believe in them. Yeah.
Okay.
Tuchel gave the players 3 days off after the defeat. I mean, you know, what if they'd won, he would have given them the whole week off or something. Like, it's great.
I'm going to go and I'll be the cynic here. I'm going to say Bayern 55%. There's a reason amidst all the chaos and the self-harm, they keep winning things. And also Dortmund, you know, sparrow doesn't make spring, yeah, or whatever, whichever way that saying goes. Jan, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.